Hey guys, alright, so I had a buddy request a little bit of help with wind, and he's been having trouble with Tour 8, so I thought I'd go on and make a pretty basic tutorial for you guys. It's going to include Golf Clash Notebook, as you can see right here. Highly recommend taking some time and going over this site if you haven't before. Pretty much everything you could ever really need to know is in there. Everything from tournaments, wind, balls, clubs, even club rankings, and there's a wind guide which I'm going to show you how to use and utilize because especially as a beginner it can be very, very helpful. So without further ado, we're going to hop into there. And you are going to want to go on over up here to wind. And right here, see a little link for a wind chart creator tool. Go ahead and click on that. And then all you've got to do, go ahead and open your clubs. And for today, we're just going to do a basic one with the clubs I normally use. Now, I actually use this most during tournaments when I'm using clubs I don't regularly play with. The clubs I know or I play with in my bag 90% of the time, I know their ratings. You'll learn them as time goes on, and you won't need these charts anymore. But when you're using a club you don't use, or say you just had a club level up and the accuracy changed or something like that, it can be useful to go back in there and check it out and see how it updates. So we're going to go ahead and enter our clubs in here. For our driver, we got the Apocalypse level 2, Sniper level 7, Saturn level 7, Thorn level 4, Firefly level 3, Nirvana level 4, and the Malibu level 5. Now it gives you an option. You can save it, so we'll call this Bird Hunter, since that's the account here. Wind 2. And you have the option to choose what power balls you will be using with. So if you know you're going to be playing a tournament, for example, and you know that 7 out of 9 of the holes you play with a power 3 ball, go ahead and make your chart with the power 3 ball. It's not really going to make much of a difference. It's like something like 0.01 per power level or something like that per ring. So the difference is very small, but if you really are trying to be as accurate as you can, I suggest giving it a whirl. We're going to go with simple here. Create chart. Creates a little PDF for us. We can just open it up here. And as you can see, Apocalypse level 2, accuracy is at 35. And it gives you your numbers here. Now your first column, all the way down, is this club at your max distance. So if you're shooting as far as you can reach with this club, then one ring will be 2.3 miles an hour of wind. So for example, let's say you have 5-mile-an-hour winds, you're going to want to go just a touch past 2 rings. Now let's look down, say we're talking the Thorn. Thorn, you're going to have a little bit wider of a range than you do with, say, your driver or your wood. This number is going to start scaling. So at about middle road distance of your Thorn's distance, so before it changes from your Firefly or your Saturn, right in the middle, this is where you want to be. This is the chart you'll look at. So for 8.5-mile-an-hour winds at medium distance, you only want to move 3 rings. Now you see how important that is, because if you look to your left here, at max distance, it's 8.42 mile an hour wind, or 8.56 is actually a full ring more. And if you look up, it's another ring. Don't cheat it. Don't just think you can remember these numbers and then subtract a ring, subtract a ring. It won't work quite right. That just happens to be, in this example, that's perfect. Because if you look at the next distance, you got 10.7, but then only 11.41 here. So it is different. You can't just try and make up a general rule for that. But it's good to keep in mind that the distance matters with every single club. That being said, your wedges are going to have an even greater difference, particularly your rough iron and your sand wedge. Because the distance, you can hit the rough iron a yard, but you can also hit it 110 yards. Your Saturn, you can't hit a yard. You can never hit a yard. You can only maximum, I think it's like 90 yards is the shortest it goes, somewhere in that ballpark. So, with your Nirvana and your Malibu, or I'm sorry, your rough iron and your sand wedge, those numbers are going to be extremely important when you're talking about mid and long and short distance. With your clubs, your regular clubs, if you just got in the habit of learning the max numbers, you would do okay. You know, you wouldn't be hitting them as often as you would like, but you'd be at least probably in good putting shape. I'd say the one time it might backfire on you is if you're trying to play very close to a hazard or something like that. Then you're going to want to be exact. So the numbers help. For me personally, when I am using the chart, I tend to do it like that. I know my numbers more or less based off this accuracy rating. Like I know for example, if the club has 50 accuracy, it's 2 rings. You know, it's on the money every time. It's 50 accuracy, it's 2 rings. So 51, 1.98, it's the same. It's close. You know, even something like, let's see. I don't have any clubs that are a good example of what I was looking for. I was looking for maybe like a 45. Thorn is close. As you can see, it's 2.14. So 2.1, you know, you're talking, it's not like the sniper where each ring is only 1 and 0.4 you can see, or you can even kind of guess a 0.1. If this were 1 ring, you're talking a 20th of the ring, roughly. So like that's minuscule numbers. But it can be important, like I said, if you're playing near a hazard. So there's times like if I'm playing regular tour play, you know, I make bad shots here and there because I'm using generalized numbers. You know, I don't want to be one of those people that literally every shot I have to pull out a chart and go look. I play with a lot of feel as well, and you'll probably want to also. Because there's things that you can't exactly get an exact prediction for, such as elevation. If you're playing over water, there's no exact formula to figure out these numbers with those changes. So feel is going to be a part of it no matter what you do. And in that being said, I feel like if you learn to play with feel a little more than you rely on the numbers, then you're going to be in better shape when you can't look at a number. You don't have the time. You know, there's times when I don't notice it's my shot for the first 10 seconds or so, and I look down and the clock's ticking away, and I don't have time to go to a chart. So it's a good thing to kind of know your clubs, know what these accuracies mean. One thing I hear people talk about often is, let's say you're using the Apocalypse. If they're saying, well, how come if it's only 35 accuracy, I only have to move 1 ring for 2? But a club that's 100% accuracy, I have to move 2 rings. Shouldn't I have to move the club with higher accuracy less? The answer is no. There's multiple reasons for that. One, the rings themselves on the lower accuracy clubs are going to be bigger. So this 2.3 rings is about equivalent to 1 ring on this target. Or I'm sorry, I did that backwards. 2.3 rings, 2.3 mile an hour wind, 1 ring here is going to be about 2.3 here. It's going to be the same distance on the screen. Close to it. other thing is that, let's say you don't hit perfect. Well, if you hit great on an apocalypse, you're hitting one ring to the side. So you're hitting that far off as opposed to that far off a great shot with your sniper. So the great shots are going to be much closer to the center target with a higher accuracy club than your lower accuracy clubs. I can tell you that any water you cross whatsoever is going to affect wind. Even the tiniest creek, if there's just a little bit of water right off to the side of the fairway, it's all going to affect it. How much is going to be trial and error in a lot of parts. Somewhere between 15 and 20% is usually a good place to start. Same goes for elevation. If you're hitting uphill, your ball is going to land shorter than the predicted target. Therefore, the wind is not going to affect it as much. If you're hitting downhill, the ball is going to go further than the predicted target, meaning the wind is going to affect it a little more. And that's another one. There's no easy formula. It's trial and error. But if you know that going into it, you'll be able to quickly figure out how much you need to over or under adjust. And I'll be going through all that when I do some tour play here. That's pretty much, that's the general gist of understanding the rings. Seeing it in action will help. And I'm going to leave this chart up here while we play so that everyone can see how I'm getting these numbers and what I'm doing. So let's go in here. I'm going to go ahead and hop in tour 8. Hopefully we get some good holes to demonstrate this stuff on. All right, so we know we're going to be at max. Adjusting for the wind here is a little different because I could either aim short to where now I can pull up to 6.4, or you can overpower the shot to get your direction you want. So what I'm going to do, 6.4 is just under 3 rings here. So I'm going to just go up and pull it to just about 3 rings. And then we got to overpower it that much. And it's going to land basically exactly where I told it to. So on that shot, we were looking in this column because we were max distance on the club. We found our closest number to 6.4, which was right there at 6.9. So I wanted to go just under that. So just under 3 rings will compensate for that wind. Also, keep in mind, if you curl the ball, the wind will affect it more. Curl can be a lot. If you're using something like the Apocalypse and you're max curling, it can add as much as like 50% to the wind. If you're just doing a little curl, maybe 5 or 10%. It's just going to be a matter of learning based on the club, how much curl that club has. But all right, let's see here. So we're at max. So we can do our max adjustment here, which is, we know with the sniper is exactly 1 ring. So we're just going to line it up like we would. Now keep in mind, this does actually drop down on this bounce here. So we want a little under power to compensate for that bounce and hope we don't hit that lip. We're going to turn our wind directly north. I use this take shot to measure your line. That's about 4.7 right there. And you're going to get darn close with almost every shot as long as you hit perfect and you made your right corrections. And hopefully we'll get a couple cool shots where we can do, show some long iron, show some short iron. I'll intentionally throw a couple into the rough and into the sand to give you guys an idea of different distances with those clubs too. So we'll get there. I want to play a couple naturally just to see it happen. The bounce is something a lot of people forget. They just compensate for the wind, or especially with elevation. They'll compensate for the elevation or the wind on their shot, but not for how the ball is going to bounce. And that is very, very big. If you have headwind, the ball bounces are going to be shorter than what it shows. If you have tailwind, they're going to stretch out longer than what it shows. The ball guide is only perfect with zero wind, zero elevation change. You will never have that. So there's always going to be some variant to it. If we're talking like 3-mile-an-hour winds, the ball bounces are not going to change very much. It's going to be negligible. If we're talking 12, 13-mile-an-hour winds, it's going to change it, especially if the ball has, let's say you put a lot of backspin on the ball. Backspin causes the ball to bounce higher, therefore the wind's going to affect it more. Topspin causes the ball to stay lower to the ground, which is why another reason why people like using topspin on the chip shots or along the fringe, is it keeps it out of the wind. All right, let's see what shootout hole we got here. Some of the toughest shootouts in the game are on this course. This is a good one to show my method because, well, it's not my method. I can't claim that this is mine. I didn't come up with this method. I just saw someone do it one day when I was playing and was like, oh, you know what? That's a smart way to play this hole because it's very safe. You want to aim dead center there. So you give yourself, I've got almost 2 rings of air in every direction. And we just want to make sure here, that's max. So we're right about mid. So sniper mid 10-2 is at 9 rings. I'm going to do this quickly. Be about there. This is by far the safest way to take this shootout. I have heard a lot of people talk about the Guardian being the best club to use in Tour 8. I highly disagree. Highly. That's not even a slight disagree, it's highly. The ball guide on the sniper will help you win far more shootouts than the backspin on the Guardian. If you play the hole properly. There's always a right way to do the hole with each club. You're going to be going, see, like this is where you would be going with the Guardian. And the problem is there's so much room for error where he's going. He can hit it short and hit the rough. He hits it a little too long, it's going to take a funny bounce. Watch me say that, he beats me. But if he beats a 1 point something shot, then good on him. That was a good shot. See? The rough is by far the safe way to take for this this hole if you're using the sniper. Which, again, you saw it. Mine's a level 7 sniper. It's not super high level. It's not on level 9, level 10. I don't have crazy backspin. It's just the safest way to play that hole, in my opinion. I have never been further than 4 yards taking that shot, hitting it perfect. And those occasions that I was even that far was lower level snipers, like level 4, level 5, when it still really doesn't have the top spin or anything to do what you want it to do. top spin to pull yourself in the right top and right spin. You can do it with just top spin, but you're aiming for a much more specific spot when you do that. When you use that right spin involved with the top spin, you have a little bit more room for error because it's going to go that direction immediately. When you're using just the top spin, you want it to roll to a certain point and then just instantly go right. And it's a little harder to hit that exactly right. But again, the ball guide on a sniper will show you. It'll be very accurate. So we'll go ahead and go through another one here. Probably a bot here. Or not, I'm sorry, not a bot, a replay. Just based off how long that took to pair me up. As far as I know, there are no bots in this game. People say they've seen them, but how would you really know? Your only argument really would be that they didn't respond back to an emoji or something, maybe. And that doesn't mean anything. Now, this is one of those holes that it's hard to say take the safe way because it just feels so much better going the way my opponent here is taking. But it is very, very risky. I'd say something like 50% of the time people end up in the trap or in the water, even worse. So I'm going to go ahead and go through and show you the basic way to play this hole first. If we come across it again, maybe I'll go a different route. We want a little backspin here. The 2 this club comes with should be enough. We're at max. We know max is about 4.5 rings. We're going to go about right there. On my driver, I won't always necessarily move the camera. Especially if the wind's just right to left, I'll just eyeball it. Your drive doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be in the fairway and where you're aiming. If I'm a little short, not the end of the world. Oh, see, that's awful. That was pretty ugly. I should have curled it a little to the right. That was my fault. Especially considering I am pretty sure I cannot reach from there with the Nirvana. So, gonna have to make a chip-in shot here, which is okay. As long as my opponent doesn't albatross. See, how do you go from 10-mile-an-hour winds on the drive to 3 on the second shot? It's craziness. Well, let's see. We got a lot of topspin on this club. We can technically get there. I guess we'll go for it. That way, if I do, hopefully if I miss, I'll miss into the bunker over there, not into the water. I was trying to intentionally hit great to the right if it wasn't going to be perfect, so. All right, not too bad. Give an opportunity to show a bunker shot here. So I can already tell you that we're going to be looking probably in the mid-range here. It's definitely not at far range, and it's definitely not at close range. It's probably somewhere in this ballpark. And I'm going to show you how I figure this out. I often estimate numbers here, even using the chart, because I'm not exactly at mid. You know, I might be at 60% or at 40%. So it's just a matter of kind of judging where you're at and then over or underestimating these numbers to get them to do what you want. All right, so zoom all the way out, or not all the way, but far enough that you can go to max. So that's max. That's mid. This actually is going to be around the mid numbers. We're going to go a little higher than mid numbers. We're not going to do any backspin or anything so that we don't affect the ball other than wind. So at 893 is one ring, so we're going to go just about 3/4 of a ring. And hope we hit perfect here. I'm going to give it a little extra power because we're shooting uphill. Ah, a little great. But still, you see how close that was? There's no reason to be far on a bunker shot. If you know your rings, you understand how they work, you're going to be close. Just making sure you can see my cursor. Forget that there's an option to turn that off in my program I am using to put this all together for you guys. We're going to go ahead and back out here real quick. Let it start again. Hopefully I don't pay for that too bad here. I had to pour a drink real quick. All right, top spin curl to the right. For this hole, I like putting the ball right there. So move that wind up, move about 10 ringish. There, and curl. I'm not full overpowering here. I'm about 75%. That's what I like to do. Hop that bunker. The reason I like doing it that way is consistency. If I know where I'm hitting, if I can hop that bunker like that every time, I know I'm hitting that same spot. It's not necessarily that that's the preferred spot to be here. So you don't have to play this hole that way. Just try to, every hole you play, try to have one or two, depending, you know, like there's certain holes that it's better to go to the left if the wind is right to left. And if it's left to right, it's better to go to the right. And that's the kind of times where it's okay to have 2 or 3 or 4 different ways to do a hole. But if the hole is generally going to be played out the same way, regardless of the wind, have one spot you aim for. Because you're going to increase your chances of hitting your second shot more often. Because you're going to get used to that shot and you're going to learn how much backspin there is involved, you know, how heavy of a slope the green might have. So here's, let's see. That's max, so we're going to go ahead and use max measurements, because we're going to be darn close. And turn it so the wind is going up. Max measurement with the Saturn, we're looking at about 4.5 rings. So put this line right here, should be at 4.5 rings. So then you can, I screwed that all up by not moving it. Boom. Had to do it real quick again. But that is the way to measure. Use that line to make your mark on your rings. Because then you can pull it down. I mean, you can zoom in and pull that thing to the exact point you're looking for. It's much easier than just eyeballing it from a bird's eye view. That's hard to do. I see people do it all the time when I'm playing them, and I just wonder why they don't just take a minute to aim. You have plenty of time in most cases to aim and make your measurements and have a second to watch your needle and not have to just instantly swing like I just had to. It's a little different here, because I am recording a video and I'm trying to teach you guys and show you things. But I also had gotten up to get a drink and it threw me all off pace here, so forgive me for that. But hard to sit here and talk for an hour without a drink, so. Let's hope we have a good shootout here for a club test, if you will. I know my buddy was having problems with the shootout, so I was hoping I can randomly run across 3 or 4 of the shootouts he's been having issues with and show him how to properly adjust. There's a couple shootouts. There's one in particular I know is on this tour that it gets a lot of people, and you'll probably know it when you see it. And it's not the one with the hills we just played. All right, so sniper. Right about sniper at mid. I like to usually measure to the rough there, right at the exact middle of that cup to my 3rd ring. You get your backspin, so you're running short here. Just a little short because we got tailwind. Sniper at mid, 5.8 is going to be 5 rings, basically. It's going to cover that 0.7, 0.8 for me. And as you can see, if you adjust right, it goes exactly where you tell it. Exactly. So when people talk about, see, that still rolled far of the cup because of the tailwind, even with the backspin. So when people talk about how the wind is inconsistent, this and that, they are probably just not understanding that they're not at full club distance. That's the biggest problem most people have, because they don't really encounter that. If you never go print this chart, you would never realize how big of a difference there is between your maxed out club and your minimum distance of that club. It's very, very surprising. A lot of times it's also elevation or water, but when people are talking about a hole they mastered, they've done it a million times, they did it exactly the same. How much you want to make a bet? The first 20 times they did it with a quasar, and now all of a sudden they did it with a Titan ball. They're getting further distance, so now their sniper is no longer at that same maxed distance. It's now at half distance. Nice shot by the opponent. And that's part of the game too. Luck of the draw. You can have a great shot and still lose. Don't beat yourself up. There's good people at this game, and there's times other people are just going to get lucky. It's part of life. The worst I've had, I lost to 3 hole-in-ones and a .2 yards in 4 holes. I swear to you, I thought the game was rigged, but it's not. It's not. Like, I I can tell because I played this one of those guys back to back. He hit the hole in one in the point two, and he was chatting with me with the emojis throughout the whole thing. And very legitimately, like, I'd hit a nice shot, he'd say nice shot. When I hit my shot for the cup and it rolled and it did a flip inside the cup and rolled out and got me 2.4 yards, he said unlucky. So I know the guy was real. It wasn't just a bot. There's a lot of people that think that's out there, and I really don't believe it is. I haven't seen any evidence of it ever. I've played about 5,000 games now. It's enough to say if they were out there, I probably would have seen it. I know there's cheaters and hackers, they exist, but it's rare. Don't account for losing on that. Instead, plan on getting better. You can get better. Everyone can get better. I can still get better. If you attribute it to other people, you're never going to get better because you're going to blame that other person instead of acknowledging your own fault. And it's a very big part of getting better. There's people that are amazing at this game, like 70% win ratios in 10,000 games. You know how good that is? To win 7 out of 10 games in 10,000 games in a game that is designed to match you up with people that should be able to beat you, that's very, very impressive. Go Navigator here. Oof, that's a hard grade. It's probably going to be trouble. Oh, if only it could have rolled out onto the fairway. That's all right. That's probably my biggest problem in this game. Um, my accuracy in terms of hitting that target. I'm a pretty firm believer if I hit perfect every shot, I'd be up there. My measurements are usually pretty damn good. I could have probably pulled out a better ball to make that an easier situation, but I'm a firm believer do not waste Kingsmakers on, uh, you know, or 8. It's just not worth it. This is a ball you want to save for the tournaments. Even Titans and Katanas, I'm pretty reluctant to pull out in a regular game. My balls of choice, if I want to use a good ball, is a Navigator or a Quasar. You can replenish those fairly quickly. Maybe 2 or 3 days worth of gems, depending how many gems you get a day, how much you play. So we're not going to reach here. So what I want to do is just leave us a good shot. So we don't need any backspin. We'll probably just do just a little top, just to give it that extra little gas. It's a little overpowered, and we don't want it too fast. You want to avoid totally overpowering the sand wedge and rough iron as much as you can. There's times it's necessary, and I understand that, and good luck to you when you do it, because it's very, 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 very hard to hit perfect on a super fast needle. And if you're full overpowering a sand wedge or a rough iron and you slice it, it's going to slice really hard, not just a little bit. It's going to go way off target. Close. All right, so we are at Firefly. This is probably going to be, yep, max distance. So we got that headwind. I want to pull this back quite a bit here. Max distance, 4 rings, so I need at least 4 rings of room. That's pretty nice right there. So we're going to go, let's turn it, make it easier. We're going to go just past 4 rings. and it's in the hole. Learn to measure properly. It will take you miles. Anybody that happens to watch this video and is at all confused at any of these numbers, what they mean, how you determine whether you're at min, max, or mid, whatever, feel free. Comment on my page. You can find me on the Golf Clash Facebook page pretty much every day. Sorry, I was just kind of looking at the situation here. Okay, so here, good example. We're going to go down. This is going to be a mid club, or a min club, basically. So we're going to push this down here, get my measurement. This is how it, well, we got headwind, so I actually don't want that full backspin. I want to give a little room. Sniper at min, 6 miles, is 4.5 rings. There's 4.5 right at the corner there. Hopefully this wind doesn't screw up the bounce too bad here, because that's what'll get you on this hole. Should be okay. Not as close as I'd like, but it's still pretty tough to beat on this hole in particular. This is one of those holes that if you get it within 3, you did pretty good. And I'd say 75% of the holes, you want to dial in your shot to be within 2 yards every time. There's a few holes where you can be 2 to 4 and be okay. And there's a few holes where you might be able to pull off being within 10 yards, you know, where it's just very, very difficult with X wind condition to get it near the hole. A pretty good example of that is there's a hole on Tour 9 where the fairway gets wide, or starts wide, narrows up to the right, and then gets wide before it goes to the green. The green is huge, but the pin is at the very, very beginning of the green, so he beat me by fractions. So I'm saying luck has a lot to do with this game. You can win, lose, even if you're playing well. So don't beat yourself up if that happens. Sorry, I lost my train of thought of what I was previously saying. If it was something somebody needed to hear, put it in the comments. I'll check them. I'll answer them. You know, above all else, I'm here to help. I don't claim to be the greatest at this game. I'm good at it. You know, I'm somewhere in like the top 3%, at least according to the global rankings on Golf Flash. And like I said, I think a big part of that is, sadly, that I have a hard time hitting perfect. I play on my phone, which is, I'm sure, part of it. You know, it moves quicker in retrospect on the phone than it would on, let's say, a tablet. Because your pixels are smaller, you know, it's just quicker movement. It's not really faster, but it feels faster is what I should say. So this hole, I've never really seen anybody take that straight route other than one time. And it was a really weird shot. And he hopped, hit that middle bunker by the sand trap, and then just kind of rolled down that rock slope and into the next fairway. It was a really strange shot. I think he got really, really lucky. I think that way is specifically designed for like a 15-mile-an-hour tailwind situation. Maybe if you were using something like the Thor's hammer, where it's just got a whole buttload of topspin, the big topper, another one, you might be able to hit that and make that hop. I'm not really sure. Man, that's sad because I'm so close to being able to get there. I might even be able to get there. I just don't really know. It's uphill, so it's strange. It doesn't work like you'd hope it would. As you can see, this bounce won't get anywhere near. That's because it's uphill. So we're going to play safe. There is no reason to go into the drink. Just want it to sit up there. Doesn't have to be right at the edge. You know, the only situation where you really want to push and get to the very lip of that fairway right before the rough is when your next shot, you're barely going to reach with a wood. If you can reach with any other club, there's no reason to push it because you can just go up a club. Play safe. I would say probably 50% of the time when I see people make bad shots, it's because they're playing a dangerous route. You know, high risk, high reward, I get that. But if you get good enough at your chip-ins, this shot that I'm taking here from the other side of the fairway really isn't that bad. And look, I mean, yeah, he's over there, but even closer, he's off in a bunker. I wouldn't want to be in a bunker. I'd rather have a fairway shot. So there's Max. It's always best if you're able to take your shot with Max. Max Thorn, 8.4. It's just about 4 rings. So we're going to move that to right there, 4 rings. Pull the target back to the take shot. Center of the target. Might not be in. This green's kind of funny. It usually changes the bounce quite a bit. Yeah. It's a tricky one. That's probably one of the hardest approach shots to sink that I've played. I think I've hit it twice, whereas of most other shots of that distance, I've hit at least 20 or 30 times. That one's tricky. It really is. Because that directly above the pin of where he is right now, so straight north of him, right about where that 600K banner is, that green is sloping in, well, 2 directions. It's going left to right and it's downhill. So when that ball hits that, well, it's going left to right from the angle I took it, right to left from the angle we were just looking. If that ball hits that, it's going to take a bounce in a different way than the ball guide showed. So it is tricky to line up your ball guide there. That's a situation where really your best bet is just play it close. You'll sink them here and there. Just go for the safe birdie. It sucks. I know everyone wants an eagle, but go to the shootout. Take your chances. Hope maybe they make a mistake somewhere on this hole. If you get lucky and hit that chip in, great. But don't plan on it there. Just make a good adjustment to be right by the hole so you know you'll make your putt. When it comes to the higher tours, that's a lot of how you play. I've noticed, since I've had 3 accounts now, and I've gotten to see the cycle and how things work. In the beginning tours, it's a lot easier to win from other people's mistakes. You might hit a 9-yard pin shot for here. This is the hole I was talking about, for closest to the pin challenge. And still win because people suck down in the lower levels. When you get up here, people are good. But people also tend to fall under pressure. So if you hit a good shot I've noticed a lot of times people buckle and they can't hit a good shot of their own. So what I was saying about this hole is a situation that is really tricky. I barely crossed that. Um, because it is both an elevation change and a water change and a canyon. It is a trifecta of wind change here. So you need to do something like 40 to 50% extra wind calculation. So for a 7-mile-an-hour wind, you need to add, something like 2, 3 mile an hours. So you're playing like it's 10-mile-an-hour wind. You play it at about 10.5, 11. Because what happens is here, you're dropping elevation again. So that wind's affecting it on the bounce more than it normally would. It's a very tricky shot to make. It's something that a lot of people don't notice in the earlier tours because it's lower wind, so there's not as big of a difference. If you think about a 50% variance in 3-mile-an-hour wind, you're only talking about a 1.5 change. But if you're playing 12-mile-an-hour wind and there's a 50% variance, now you're adding 6 miles an hour, so now you're playing an 18-mile-an-hour wind. It's very, very, very tricky. That is one of the hardest shootout holes to really get down. Especially if you didn't understand that you're changing elevation and you're going over a canyon and you're playing over water. It's tricky. It's a lot of factors to take in. I feel kind of bad because here I am making a tutorial video and I've lost almost every match, but the idea here is not to win. The idea is to teach. It also really doesn't bother me. I could lose a couple hundred times here on this tour and not be broke still, so. Again, see, he's using an earth ball. Can't say I would use the earth ball here. I mean, even if he wins. You want 800K for an earth ball? Or no, what is it here? 1.6 million? Something like that. No, 600K. That's right. So 300K is what you really bet and what you really win. If that's worth a 50-cent ball to you, then I guess go ahead. But I'm going to rewind this here. You want it to come right in the middle of the fairway. I'm just going to move it over a little for the wind. I'm also going to curl it the other direction. Hopefully end up in a straight shot. Well, kudos to him because blue marble is going to help him reach. But like I said, it's really not worth it. Unless you have to win these coins, then okay. But you should really learn to play with lower level balls. If you can learn to master the basic ball, great. But to be honest, you probably won't win very much just because of the level you're going to get outdriven in distance and the wind resistance and all that, it's going to be very difficult to win. So that sucks. That's just kind of a crappy distance, but that's all right. Take what we can get. I definitely don't want to come down here for no reason or lay it up way short. The good news is here, if I do just hit the rough, it'll be okay. So we're going to go. That's about where we want it. We want to play safe for that. So we're going to go just about there. Give it just a little curl. Just a little under full power just to help that needle slow down a notch. I hate great shots, especially in the wrong direction. But it worked out all right. That technically was the right direction. If you're going to hit great, it is better to hit in the direction in which the wind is coming from, not going. So the wind was right to left, so it's better to hit great on the right. If I were to hit great on the left, the wind is just going to take that ball. And then you're going to be way off to the side. So keep that in mind when you're aiming up your shots. If you know you're a little off on your timing and you don't hit perfect every time, you know that. Aim early. Or aim into the wind, I should say. With your needle, not with your actual target. So hit great in the direction the wind is coming from. It'll affect it less than it would if you went the other great. So keep that in mind. Always go for perfect. But if you know you're risking it, like you're taking a really fast shot, then be prepared to release a hair early rather than late. So this is min right here. So we're going to go with a min adjustment. I'm going to try and just play this hole a little funky just because I like to. Well, I guess I should go for it. It's the proper way to demonstrate what's going on here. We're going to go for the second hop right in the cup. Thorn min 7-1 is a little under 2 rings. So we're going to come in here and just go right on there. It's kind of a guessing game when it comes to exact. Close, you know, off by a hair. But you're looking at rings that are roughly, 4.2 miles an hour per ring. To be to the decimal on your wind prediction is going to be hard, no matter what you do. You can't pixelate down to the finest pixel. You don't have the time to do that. So if you can be within this range every time, you're going to find yourself making like 50% of them, 40% of them, something in there. Man, that's unfortunate. This hole again. Well, let's see if we can get our hole in one. So we're about mid. So go there. I'm going to shorten it up just a little more because we got almost exactly the same wind. 5-6 with sniper on mid is 5 rings exactly. We're going to go just a touch under. And we're in the hole. Got that win. Promise you I know what I'm talking about. You know, I don't win 62% of my games talking out of my butt. Close. See, if we didn't hit that 0-1 there, we almost surely would have lost. Which would have put us at like 7 for 8 or something like that. And with the exception of, I think, 2 shots, I've been within about 2 yards. I'd like an opportunity to show you guys one or two of those tough holes where I am not at an awkward club length or something as well, so I can actually show you the measurement and not, like that one, the hole I have that hard issue with. I had to overpower my shot to make up for the wind, and that is a real big guessing game because you have no idea if you're overpowering for 3 rings or 4 rings or 2 rings, other than just by muscle memory and doing the holes however many times and learning it. And I'm still kind of tweaking that part of my development, learning the over and under power, how much is how much. It can be kind of easy. Like there's times where you can just see it's like, oh, I'm half overpowering right there. So I want to half overpower, and you can figure that out. That's not as hard. So this is one of those situations where if you just hit it at the wrong distance on this shot, you just bounce like right into the bunker. And I don't remember. Oof. Or do that. I don't remember what ball sets you up to go in the bunker, but there's pretty much always a ball with whatever driver you're using. So if you're using, let's say, the extra mile 8, and you just happen to have a Marlin ball out, it might no Marlin wouldn't do it because there's no power change. Let's say he has the Quasar out. It might just be that perfect distance where that third bounce goes in the bunker. So if you find yourself, hey, I've hit the bunker on my drive 3 times here, maybe try a different ball that might change the whole hole up for you. Luckily, my opponent messed up too, so you get a fair shot at winning this hole. Or an even shot. It's always fair, but an even shot. So we just want to be nice and safe here. Just lay it up. We can't get there. It's perfectly acceptable to do that. Remember, a clean shot is going to be easier than a rough shot from 5 yards closer. Now, if we're talking, you can be in the bunker right outside the green or on the fairway 100 yards away, yes, I'm going to take the bunker right outside the green. But when we're talking a difference of 20 yards, maybe at best, then take the fairway. There's max. We're close to max here. With this hole, you honestly could come way up here and roll in the hole. But I want to try to minimize the odds of missing that roll into the hole. Go right about there. Thorn 7.8 is going to be 3.5 rings, roughly. I'm going to give just the slightest overpower and the slightest curl to account for the wind on the bounce. Still wasn't enough. Not a terrible shot, but it should have been a hair closer. And as you guys can see, I am plagued with playing people way higher than me. I pretty much play people with max clubs on a regular basis, and I'm using level 4 extra mile, I think. No, level 2 apocalypse still, but that was just lucky. A level 7 sniper, a level 4 thorn, level 4 nirvana, level 5 Malibu. Nothing crazy. Meanwhile, my opponent's got a level 8 hornet. I haven't even unlocked that card yet. Or I might have. It's hard to remember. Too many accounts. Either way, it's like a level 3 or 4, I'm sure. It's another big part of why this game gets very, very hard. The better you are at it, the harder the matchups are going to be. So the more you get better as you're playing and your skill progresses, your matchups are going to continually get harder. Yes, you will occasionally, everyone occasionally draws the weaker opponent. If that didn't happen, no one would ever be able to play. So that does happen, but 8 times out of 10, you're going to draw somebody fairly better than you. Maybe 1 time out of 10, it's going to be someone perfectly even. And then 1 time out of 10, you'll be better. So you have to really play better than your opponent almost every time because you're playing outmatched. And I know it sucks, but because of the way they matchmake in this game, that's just how it's going to be, and that's how it's always going to be. I'm pretty sure the only people that have favorable matchups frequently are people that are like down in the low 40s win percentage. Even if you're at like 48, you're probably still going to play harder people more often than not. We're going to curl this here. So normally the curl would take us right around here. But because of the wind, it's going to take us about here. Or, I'm sorry, the wind would have taken us there. Because of the curl, it's going to take us about there. Almost doubles it. Because right now, it's getting tailwind the whole way. See how far that bounced up closer to the bunker? Then I aimed 10 rings plus away from her. I'm sorry, 5 rings plus away from the bunker. And that was darn near the bunker on a 6-mile-an-hour wind. Curl affects the ball greatly. All right, so if I remember right, I should be probably using a max thorn here. Close to max. Yeah. So, we're going to play this one with no backspin. We're just going to go right for the hole on the regular bounce. So if you see how that bounce is curling to the right, it's going to continue to do that. So you have to imagine your line doing that. We're going to go right in there. 11.8 at max is going to be 5.5. So we can just come out a little past 5 there. We're going to get a little extra. Not much, just a touch. Just a hair off. That was pretty close though. You have to be happy with that shot 9 times out of 10. If your opponent sinks this, good shot on his end. Sinking anything with your short iron or farther is probably never more than a 50% chance of making it. Once you get into your wedge, then that's when your chip-in shots really have a higher chance of going in. But until you have max clubs, just get yourself as close to the hole as you can. Learn to get yourself close. Then start going for in. So I found, or I feel like when people go for in when they're not really exactly sure what they're doing yet, that's when they end up with the shots that go way past the hole or come in too hot and hit the flagstick and fly off in the wrong direction. Learn what the hole is like around the cup. There's advantage to having to putt every once in a while too. You can see some certain slopes and dips that you might not have seen from the aerial view. Course knowledge is very big in this game. I'm a believer that that's why they don't just bombard us with new courses all the time. It's because they understand that the only reason people get really good at these is they learn the holes. They really learn them. They study them. They understand what's going on every part of it. They know where the hazards are and they know how to play a shot to avoid those hazards. So this is that hole. We're going to do double wind and just see how that plays out for us this time. Because we got side wind. So we don't have to worry so much about um, the distance as just getting it where we want. So this is going to be, we'll just do 7-6 twice. 5, 6, 7, 6. 5, 6, 7, 6. Let's see how that turns out. So that's a little too much. I'm guessing it's probably somewhere more along the lines of 30 to 40%. This is a hole I really haven't played extensively in a while. Um, I've passed Tour 8 with this account in a matter of a week or two. I didn't play it very often. I just kind of flew right through. And on my main account, I originally played it probably 6 months ago, and I had to redo it about 4 months ago. So I had a terrible, it might not even been 4 months ago, it wasn't that long ago. I had a terrible streak where I went from 32 million, I think it was, to 3.5 million. And I mean, I'm smart with my money. I don't just bet like crazy. Nice shot. See, our luck is just killing us today. That's another thing. If you notice you're having a bad luck day and you're just losing, 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 like this one's my fault. Even though he got a hole in one, that was a terrible shot. But I was experimenting more than anything. But my point was, if you know you're having a bad day and you're losing 2 or 3 in a row, drop down a tour or two where the bankroll part of it isn't going to be important. So if you lose 10 in a row, you don't lose that much money in retrospect to what you have. Because a big part of it is playing through the slumps. I feel like if you have a bad day, you just set it down and expect to pick it up tomorrow and be good. It's probably not going to happen. You're probably going to come back into your slump. But maybe because you have a fresh mind, you get through it right away. I feel it's better to play through slumps, personally, get the bad stuff out of your system, but do it in a place where it's not going to break you. See, I think I've lost 1.4 million or something, or 1.5 million in, you know, an hour of playing. That's not bad. I can, at 35 million, I can handle that. Now I kind of want to get that hole one more time so we can test out our 30 to 40% measurement. I'm betting about 33% is the magic number. Which is 1/3. So it's fairly easy to do that math still. Do numbers that's easy for you to figure out in your head. Do 10%, 25%, 33%, 50%. Those numbers are easy to figure out in your head. So this can be an interesting hole. I kind of want to, I'm going to try to intentionally land over here in this rough. without, there's a tricky shot to hit, but trying to get in the edge of that rough over there so I can give you a mid rough iron shot. That's going to probably be ugly. Ooh, bunker? Well, still an experimental shot. Something to show some variance in distance here. I'm going to move this down just a little bit so I can see a little better. And I'd say even if you get really, really, really good with your clubs, you're using these numbers. Even if you don't have this chart, if you know that this is 2.23, half is literally double that. And half again is double that. And that's what these numbers represent. So you can figure these numbers out in your head if you know this first number. That's all you really need to know, which is based off of accuracy. So if, let's say, you just want to make yourself a quick little cheat sheet for the weekend or something, just go ahead and write down your first number. And if you want to do it so you don't have to remember, write down your second number and your third number, just for your wedges, so you don't have to do the math on the fly in the game. It's not cheating to use these numbers, because if you want to really be good, you need some sense of measurement. What Golf Clash Tommy does is totally different, but he's still using a form of measurement. It's just his own. That's all it is. Look at that. Beautiful. Well, it's about all I had to go through right now. I think we're going to do one more after this, unless this goes to a shootout, because I wanted to do one more shootout hole. If he makes this, this will be the end after this shootout. If he misses, we'll do one more hole, and if shootout or not, that'll be the end of the stream. So I hope you guys were able to take away from this. I hope it helps people that have been struggling. The wind is by far the single most important factor to learn in this game to be successful. It pretty much gives you everything else with the ball guide and having a simple meter to overpower. You don't have to swing your finger across the screen to swing your club like maybe like a Tiger Woods used to do, or with the joysticks where you're providing the momentum. Oh, I should have rematched him. I was a little too hasty on the button. Go ahead and open our pin chest real quick, see if anything nice came out of there. Here's what I'm saying. Depending what level you're playing, I'm getting 21 gems every day from a pin chest, plus probably another 40 on average from chests and free chests, which means I could buy a pack of Quasars a day. So as long as you're playing 9 holes or less, you could play for free using a premium ball. It's not the best premium ball, but it's good. And if you really want to be smart, save your gems for a week or two. Just save them. Just play with the basic ball on a lower tour for, don't go crazy. Like me dropping to Tour 2 right now would be ridiculous. But maybe go play Tour 6, Tour 7, something where it's like I can lose and lose and lose because I'm going to use a basic ball or Marlins, where I can risk the losses to just play and save my gems. Because I like to play every day regardless of tournaments or if I have open chess slots or whatever. I play, I practice. I enjoy it, and it's what I do. And if you're like me and you like to play regardless of what's going on with your financial situation in the game, or if it's a tournament or whatever, Play a lower tour. Just go down a tour or two. Just so it's not going to hurt your bankroll if you do have a bad streak. Play with the basic ball and some marlins and save your gems. You'd be surprised how quickly it adds up when you don't spend anything. All right, we're going for one more hole. Hopefully we get a shootout. All right, so I think this time we're going to go ahead and take a risk. All right. Okay. We want it to come right about here. So right around there. And it's downhill, so a little short is going to be better than long because you don't want to go in that water. Great's never good. I always found it funny that they call it a great shot. And 9 times out of 10, a great shot's in the bunker or in the rough. I just think that's funny. But at least from that distance, we can make green. Even from the sand. We should be able to at least. So I already know I'm going to be at max. So this is advantageful. If you know you're going to be at max, just take a look at your chart real quick and look where you're going to be looking. And it's 9.8. So I know it's going to be 4.5 rings. So now I can just find my spot and take my time to do that. And my adjustment will be quick because I know exactly where I need to go. We want like right there. It's going to be like right around there. We're going to come over to the right just a touch so that if I make an error, hopefully I don't hit the rough. That's unfortunate. That's what happens when you don't turn your camera view. You can get that. There's my camera. We can get that angle of the wind just slightly off, and it changes everything. That's why getting it so your wind is straight up and down or straight right and left before you make your adjustment is a very good thing to do. Pretty much the only reason I didn't do it is because I knew I was going to be overpowering it slightly to get my measurement, and it was just a little awkward. So, made a faulty error. Now we got to make a bunker shot to save eagle here, which is fine. So now we're going to be somewhere in this ballpark. I'm going to look right here. I'm going to say, you know what? It's probably going to be right about just over this number. Because that's probably there. So we're going to go here. We can even, let's see how much topspin we got. Not much with this club yet. Go about there. And it's going to be just over a ring. Or it should be just over a ring. Now, I mean, we're talking just barely. The ring's 8 miles an hour. So, I mean, we're talking just barely. Hard to hit perfect from the bunker. That's why you don't want to be doing it for your hole shot. It's okay. If your drive goes into the bunker, it's okay if your bunker is in a decent spot. You can reach. Or you can lay yourself up nice and close. You really want to avoid the bunker around the green. It's just Unfortunately, this hole is very easy to hit that bunker because there's a lot of undulation right by that bunker to either throw your ball left into the fairway or left into the rough or possibly water or right into that bunker. It's tricky, you know. That's a hole where you really want to be using a normal club and not coming out of the bunker in the first place. But you can also get lucky. It's unfortunate. I don't like winning that way. Even, you know, even though you get the money and everything, it's not even about um, pride or anything. It's just that I like to earn the actual winnings. Um, and I hate to see someone go through some bad luck as well, because I've been there. So I don't like seeing people get upset and forfeit because they know they just have such a small chance of, you know, he had a chance, maybe, but it was maybe 1 in 10,000 or something. To hit that shot that he had to hit was going to be tricky. So that's going to be it for tonight, guys. Like I said, please comment, like, share this video. Need some attention out there. Start doing live streams with an audience. We can get a chat going, have some fun, do friendlies and things like that. All right, stay tuned. See you again soon.